Deep breath. Whenever the spirit moves, yeah.
The idea that at any given moment your family could be obliterated by a 2-mile wide fireball and an explosion that's much larger than 2 miles, with an air blast radius of maybe 5 miles, ensuring death immediately, was a regular thought in the Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
Nuclear war was definitely something that people had at the forefront of their minds walking to work, and obviously something very scary and intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And that fact played very well to Lyndon Johnson's strategy in the 1964 election, where he is technically the incumbent running against Barry Goldwater. If you don't know who Barry Goldwater is, it would be helpful. He's almost analogous to Trump. He kind of used rhetoric that spoke to a group of people, particularly in the South, in the 60s. And even though Lyndon Johnson's from the South, this is a very complicated time in history where the Democratic Party was switching geographically. That's just a little bit about that. Slightly more background information. Barry Goldwater said some maybe insensitive and explosive speech about the use of nuclear weapons, and as a result, Lyndon played this in his favor with an ad during the election.
Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
Right. So, given that, I'm going to firstly talk about how this utilizes psychological power to draw us in and help Lyndon's cause. So, psychological power, some very obvious, very obvious devices are empathy or pathos. So we immediately empathize with this young girl. She's kind of incorrectly counting numbers, and she's incredibly innocent. And she's in like a field. It's you would never imagine how she got there, but an image like that is one that we immediately want to care for, due to our nurture instincts. And suddenly that's contrasted with this very kind of robotic-sounding countdown of nuclear bombs, which is the exact opposite, and it's destroying her innocence, and it's implying with the shift into her eyes, which is slightly cheesy today, that she's obliterated by this nuclear explosion. So that, and then directly after that, what they do is they say Barry Goldwater will probably cause this.
Mm.
So you can't help but associate this image of Barry Goldwater or his irresponsible rhetoric leading towards the death of this child and your child, us. So this is how he utilizes our minds to make us want to not vote for Barry Goldwater, and how the stakes are too high, all of these things. And secondly, I would like to talk about how this manipulates our knowledge or how we interpret Barry Goldwater. So Barry Goldwater, his rhetoric on this, you definitely not appreciate Lyndon's use of what he said. While his rhetoric was explosive, it was definitely not condoning the use of nuclear bombs. Like Barry Goldwater was not planning on using this against Russia. he was slightly more just elevated in his use of it. Now, I would agree, and probably most of us agree, that's still slightly too high. But by conflating like those images again with the psychological power, it's manipulating how we see Barry Goldwater's message of nuclear bombs.
Mhm.
While he would probably use it in different terms as he did during the debate and try to correct Lyndon, it's impossible to divorce those two ideas from reality. And thirdly, and my last point, is how Lyndon is using this for personal, not necessarily personal, but it's personal power as in he's trying to get himself elected. So the alternative, obviously, to Goldwater is Lyndon Johnson, and he's implying inadvertently that he will not make these choices that Barry Goldwater is. He's going to be more reserved, and he will make the decisions that will not lead to this, even though he probably made some decisions that were catastrophic to lives anyway. So this is just a device that's being used to contrast the two. Barry Goldwater is and the worst impossible interpretation is a maniac with his finger on a button that's going to kill us all. And I am a rational actor that will do whatever it takes to not let this situation take place. So that concludes how Lyndon Johnson's ad effectively tries to use rhetoric to win or gain votes and to ensure that he re-enters his presidency, and many people say that this ad changed political advertising for forever just because of its potency and its recent. We kind of had this cycle in the recent election of Donald Trump. Like, do we really want Donald Trump at this head? So.